For over 100 million years, one family of insects has been our most lethal predator. By acting as the delivery mechanism for malaria, dengue, and Zika, mosquitoes are responsible for the deaths of millions of people every single year. But researchers at Oxford University have developed a mechanism to stop them. Using gene drive technology, scientists can introduce a self-limiting gene into male mosquitoes. When those modified males mate with wild females in nature, their offspring inherit the gene and die before they can reach adulthood. If we were to scale this technology up and deploy it globally, the results would be absolute. The populations of all 3,500 distinct mosquito species on Earth would crash. We would achieve the intentional, targeted erasure of a biological family that has survived since the Cretaceous period. The immediate benefits to human health would be monumental. Global health systems would experience massive relief, saving billions in healthcare costs and rescuing millions of lives that might otherwise be lost to parasitic infections. But mosquitoes are integral to many ecosystems. Removing them creates what ecologists call a keystone void, a sudden, massive gap in the food web. By successfully neutralizing our greatest biological threat, we will have triggered an invisible countdown to global ecological destabilization. The collapse begins in stagnant water. Mosquito larvae contribute a highly concentrated amount of biomass to aquatic habitats, where they act as essential environmental filters. These aquatic insects spend their days consuming decaying leaves, organic waste, and microbes. They process that waste and excrete nitrogen-rich frass, insect feces, that dissolves into the water and fertilizes the surrounding plant life. Some microcosms rely entirely on this filtration cycle. On the east coast of North America, pitcher plants depend almost completely on mosquito larvae to break down the insects trapped in their water into usable nitrogen. Without mosquito larvae to process the debris, these aquatic environments would quickly choke on their own rotting organic waste, suffocating the vegetation below. The starvation wave extends far beyond small ponds. Every spring, as the snow melts across the Arctic tundra, millions of mosquito eggs hatch, creating incredibly dense clouds of insects. This chart illustrates the projected historical populations of migratory birds in the region. At the point of mosquito eradication, year 0, we see a precipitous 50% drop. These birds rely on the sudden abundance of insect biomass to fuel their migration. The absence of these swarms would also alter the behavior of massive mammals. Caribou herds historically chart their migration paths specifically to evade the biting insects, preferring routes that confront the wind to keep the bugs away. If the caribou stop taking those ancient routes, the wolves that hunt them are forced to change their foraging patterns. And globally, specialized insectivores, like mosquito fish, frogs, and certain bat species, would lose their primary food source overnight. Eliminating a single microscopic pest forces a geographic redraw of animal migration and predator-prey survival across the planet. It is easy to view mosquitoes purely as parasites, but out of thousands of species, only about 100 feed on human blood. For energy, male mosquitoes, and most females, survive primarily on plant nectar. Because they gather nectar around aquatic environments, they serve as critical pollinators for plants like the bluntleaf orchid, tansy flowers, and commercial cacao plants. Without them, these plants fail to reproduce. The loss of pollination would destabilize local biodiversity and severely impact global agricultural outputs, including the chocolate industry. In our attempt to rid ourselves of a biting nuisance, we would sever a botanical life support system. A strange paradox defines our conflict with mosquitoes. While they are deadly to humans, they act as unwitting guardians of some of the most pristine environments on Earth. For centuries, the threat of malaria and yellow fever has served as a natural biological barrier. The high risk of infection has kept dense human populations and industrial development out of deep tropical jungles. If we completely remove that risk, humans will inevitably push further into these newly safe environments. The result is aggressive logging, land clearing, and the rapid consumption of untouched resources. By wiping out the microscopic guardians of the jungle, we clear the path for massive, macro-level deforestation and habitat loss. Some ecologists point out that the mosquito's ecological role is not entirely irreplaceable. Given enough time, other organisms like bees, butterflies, or midges could adapt to fill the empty pollination and prey niches. This graph highlights the core problem with that theory. The steep downward line shows ecosystem collapse happening in a matter of months. Meanwhile, the upward curve representing evolutionary niche replacement would take decades, if not centuries, to physically manifest. This brings us to a difficult ethical reality. The real enemies here were the viruses and parasites. Mosquitoes were just the unwitting biological messengers. Wiping them out entirely would certainly grant us a period of immense relief and improved human health. But it would also leave us with an irreparably scarred biosphere, proving that our own survival is deeply intertwined with the creatures we despise the most.